As most of you know, I am a mom. And there aren't too many trips to Target during which the statement isn't made in the Lego aisle. But I need it. And I roll my eyes and know most certainly that the desired toy is not needed. However, kids aren't the only ones who claim need when maybe there isn't what we would define as need. Take, for example, the iPad. Something unheard of, basically in common language just 1 year ago. Well, to date, 15 million of the first generation iPad have sold. And already the iPad 2 has sold an estimated 7 million tablets. 23 million iPads are needed. So I know you're shaking your heads right now, because of course they're not needed. And I agree, but what about those huge sales? I mean, we already have computers and smartphones and televisions. And I realize that this is a big but stay with me for just a few minutes. What if the iPad and the Legos and the pretty new necklace is meeting a need? What if the child asking for the Lego set is really not saying, I need more Legos? What if they're really saying, show me that you love me? What if buying the new iPad isn't, this is going to make my life easier and help me to get more organized? But rather, my life is so difficult and so stressful that I need to escape for a little bit. What if the pretty new necklace isn't about being frivolous, but needed in a, I really wish I felt more pretty and valuable sort of way? What if need is much deeper than what we can really see? Because some needs are easily seen, right? Kind of like I did up here with the kids. Some needs are easily seen. Food and water and sleep. Basic survival needs. But we need more than that, right? And we also need safety and health and money. But this is the same question that I put to the kids. If you had just enough food and water and your health, would all your needs be met? Would you be satisfied? Would you be whole? Probably not. Because the life promised to us in Jesus is more than just the basics. We actually do need family and friends. We actually do need to feel valuable and respected and accepted and like we belong someplace. Because I'd say when we don't have those needs met, love and respect and belonging, then we seek to fill it with something else. Sometimes this is what my girlfriends and I call retail therapy. The problem is it doesn't last. That emptiness just returns. It's why all the money spent on iPads and Legos and jewelry and the cool graphic t-shirt and music, whatever, it is meeting a need. It just doesn't meet the need in a way which nourishes and sustains us. So when Luke says, in the book of Acts, when Luke says to us, and they distributed as any had need, I'm thinking, we all have need. The gosh darn hard part is figuring admitting it, asking for help, receiving it. You get the picture. And it's also realizing that needs aren't always visible, nor are all of our needs the same. Meeting the needs of others and ourselves is not as easy as passing out a can of food. As many of you know, we are starting this free breakfast program here next Sunday. And the plan is to offer free breakfast the last 2 Sundays of every month to anyone who wants it. Anyone. So what if someone shows up who has a whole cupboard of food at home? What if they really could afford to have their own cereal and milk at home? What if they really just want to work the system? They can still have breakfast because of the iPad principle. I coined that phrase. You like that? Need is often much deeper than what we can see. If someone is willing to walk through the doors of a church, whether they're in need of food or in need of a warm place, maybe they just want to talk to somebody, maybe they just want to check it out, then in some ways, we're meeting a need. Because I will tell you something that I know, that you guys all know, is that people don't just walk into churches for no reason. It is true that people could show up who don't really need food. But there is something here in this place that we all need. And it doesn't matter what our race is, what our socioeconomic status is, what our age is, none of those things matter. We all need Christ. And that's something, that's a need that we've been gifted to share here. Because we all show up here on Sunday mornings with some type of need. We want something to fill up the holes in our lives. We want to be healed. We want to be heard. We want to be loved. We want to be touched and we want to be transformed. I bet every single one of you in the sanctuary can say, yeah, that's what I want. Every single person outside of the sanctuary can say, yeah, that's what I want. The Good Mornings Breakfast program, it's about healing and loving and touching, much more than it is about cereal and milk. Because the things that last, that actually satisfy, are those things that the church has been gifted to share. And when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about how incredibly brilliant Jesus is, which is sort of obvious, Son of God and all. But today I'm awestruck by the ways in which he provided for us and instructed us in the ways of need. Because he basically says the best way to introduce people to God is to generously give them food, safety, family, and love. Food, safety, family, love. Well, there's this guy, you've probably heard of him, his name's Maslow. And he's pretty famous for something called the hierarchy of need, which basically says there are certain things which must be met in order for another need to be met. So, for example, physical needs to be met before safety needs. Safety needs must be met in order for someone to feel loved and respected. It goes on and on and on. Maslow, he stole that idea from Jesus and the church in Acts. Jesus is actually the one that's famous for it. I mean, if you look at the church in Acts, how it was formed on meeting needs. And the church in Acts, when it was at its best, was an unstoppable force, transforming lives and helping build healthy communities. What was their secret? It tells us. They spent time together, and they ate together, and they gathered, and they worshiped, and they were glad, and they were generous with all they had been given, food and safety and family and love. These are needs that can begin to be met through Jesus and the church. But I want to say one more thing about the church in Acts. And I think it's really important that you hear this. It wasn't all peaches and cream. I think we hear these words, like the little blurb we get today is day by day they spent much time together. They broke bread at home and ate their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God, and had goodwill to all the people. And day by day the Lord added to their number those who were being saved. And those words sound like some far-off utopia. It almost sounds too good to be true. The church of Acts, it was amazing. Just like the church of today is amazing. But don't have this glossy, untarnished view of the church back then. Because later on in the book, there is division, and there is cheating and corruption and judgment of who's in need. The Lord strikes someone dead. Just like the church of today. And I tell you this not to dishearten us, but to remind us that it is hard to be church. And it wasn't so much easier back then. There is nothing different about that church and this church. There is nothing different about the mission of the small church and the mission of the large church. Every church of every time and place is called to love with glad and generous hearts. If there's any wild card in all of this, if there's any wild card, I would say it's awe. It's our willingness to be overcome with awesomeness. Because here's the thing, and I know this to be true. I have seen it. Not as often as I want, but I have seen it. That God puts things on people's hearts and in churches to infuse awe and goodness into this world. I believe that with my whole heart. Distribute as any have need. Food? Sure. And shelter? Sure. And money? That's what's needed. But above all else, we are called to distribute love and acceptance and belonging in different ways to many, many different people of this world who are in need of being resurrected by Jesus, the Son of God and the Son of Man, who saves us all every day in ways that we hardly ever recognize. Thanks be to God.